Tonight, conversations with the candidates for President of the United States. We interviewed Barack Obama and Mitt Romney over the last few weeks, and we asked about a wide variety of issues. Steve Kroft will talk with the president, but we'll start with Governor Romney. We asked Mr. Romney how his vision differs from the president's, because recently Mr. Obama said this election is the clearest choice in a generation.
Some people, Governor, have an uneasy feeling that you're not constant, that you say whatever you have to say in a particular moment.
Now, you made on your investments personally about $20 million last year, and you paid 14% in federal taxes. That's the capital gains rate. Is that fair to the guy who makes $50,000 and paid a higher rate than you did?
You have heard the criticism. I'm sure that your campaign can be vague about some things. And I wonder if this isn't precisely one of those things.
In Florida, a state with high foreclosure rates and unemployment over the national average, Romney hammered away with his economic message. That's where he believes the campaign will be won. He does not spend much time at his rallies talking about foreign policy, a subject in which he has limited experience and no military background. Governor Romney has been criticized lately for comments during a private fundraiser when he said that his job is not to worry about the 47% of Americans who don't pay income taxes and are dependent on government.
You're the CEO of this campaign. A lot of Republicans would like to know, a lot of your donors would like to know, how do you turn this thing around? As you know, a lot of people were concerned about the video of the fundraiser in which you talked about the 47% of the American people who don't pay taxes. Peggy Noonan, a very well-known conservative columnist, said that it was an example of this campaign being incompetent. And I wonder if any of that criticism gets through to you and whether you're concerned about it at all.
4 years ago, as a young senator, Barack Obama offered the country more inspiration than experience. Today, the graying president runs with all the advantages of incumbency and all the encumbrances of a record dogged by a sluggish recovery and chronically high unemployment. For nearly 2 years now, a Republican House has blocked almost every initiative he's offered. His signature domestic achievements, rescuing the auto industry and reforming health care, remain controversial. Yet 6 weeks before the election, President Obama maintains a small lead in the polls. We spoke on September 12th in the White House Blue Room.
Mr. President, you were elected 4 years ago promising hope and change for the better. Your opponent argues that you have achieved neither. Country has rarely been so divided politically, and people are afraid for their jobs. I know you know that. People are fearful about the future for the families. How do you respond to that? On the campaign trail, Governor Romney has been portraying you as a nice guy who doesn't have a clue about the economy or how the country works. How are you going to get the Republicans to agree to a tax increase for the top 2%? You've got a majority of Republicans in Congress, including Governor Romney, who have signed a pledge never to increase taxes under any circumstances. How are you going to get them to change their minds and make this deal? You came in running as an outsider, somebody who was going to change Washington. Do you still believe, after 3 years in this gridlock that we've had, that somebody who claims to be an outsider can get things accomplished in Washington? Your efforts to get the banks and the mortgage companies to renegotiate loans and modify terms have been underwhelming, to say the least. What happened?
While most of our White House interview involved domestic policies, the president's day was dominated by foreign affairs. The attack on the Libyan consulate that left the U.S. ambassador and 3 others dead had occurred the night before.
Wait for what?
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had inserted himself into the presidential campaign, criticizing the president and pushing him to lay out conditions for a military attack against Iran.
You don't feel any pressure from Prime Minister Netanyahu in the middle of a campaign to try and get you to change your policy and draw a line in the sand. Have recent events in the Middle East given you any pause about your support for the governments that have come to power following the Arab Spring?
The day after our White House interview, we followed the president to Colorado, a crucial swing state in the upcoming election, to ask him a few more questions central to the campaign.
Since the Benghazi tragedy, your opponent has attacked you as being weak on national defense and weak on foreign policy. He says you need to be more aggressive in Iran. You haven't done enough to support the revolt in Syria, and that our friends don't know where we stand and our enemies think we're weak.
Continue our conversation with the candidates. We ask them about the qualities of leadership and the lessons of history. We begin again with Governor Romney.
What are the essential qualities of a leader? The historian David McCullough says that great presidents learn from the history of the office. And I wonder what you've learned from the history of presidents in the White House. Presidents and presidential candidates are booked down to the minute. And I wonder if you ever have a moment to be alone with your own thoughts. If so, when, and what does that mean to you? You pray every night before you go to bed. What do you ask for? Presidencies are remembered for big ideas: emancipation, social security, man on the moon. What's your big idea?
President Obama also reflected on the nature of leadership with us. We spoke following his campaign stop in Golden, Colorado.
What are the essential qualities of a leader in your mind? David McCullough, the noted presidential historian, said all the great presidents have had a number of common traits, and one of them is an understanding of history and an understanding of the history of the presidency. Yeah. Is there anything that you've read or learned from your study of this area that has helped you? Any examples you can give me? Where do you go to kind of sort things out on your own? And when do you find time to just be alone with your own thoughts? Many times in our history there have been big ideas like going to the moon or the Marshall Plan. This campaign, some people think, has been devoid of big ideas. Not necessarily that the budget deficit and some of these things are big ideas, but what would you like to see happen?